If you are an avid watcher of anime like I am, then you are probably extremely familiar with Gyaru and Gyaru girls. From the popular character Junko Enoshima from the franchise Danganronpa, from the bullies from the popular game known as Yandere Simulator, you know what Gyaru is. But despite how much I personally love Gyaru, there is a dark racist underbelly, and I really feel like it's time that we talk about it. Hi guys, welcome back to Ella Pastoral. If this is your first time ever coming upon my little corner of YouTube, typically I make video essays relating to all of my favorite pieces of media, as well as talking about social issues. If you're already liking the vibes of this channel right here, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, because I make a lot of these fandom, deep dives. But before I can really talk about why I feel like Gyaru as a fashion culture is problematic, we all need to be on the same page on what Gyaru is. According to the article, The History of Gyaru, a Fashion Rebellion by Hannah Martin, Gyaru is a Japanese fashion subculture derived from the English word gal. This fashion was originally created in the 1970s as retaliation against Japan's harsh beauty standards for teenage girls, and it reached its peak in the late 90s and the early 2000s. The word Gyaru started becoming popular in the 70s and 80s, mainly seen in magazines. The meaning of Gyaru and the interchangeable gal changed in 1989 when Yuzuko, a popular artist and author at the time, released a manga called Sweet Spot, popularizing the term Oyagaru, or old man girl. In the early 90s, teamers who were described as antisocial delinquent teenagers started going to Shibuya at night. Their style and attitude took inspiration from American gangs and popular American styles. I just wanted to take a quick break from the regularly scheduled content to just thank all of my current Patreons. Thank you guys so much for your support. It seriously means so much. Without y'all, I wouldn't be able to be so consistent in posting content. If any of y'all want to be like these beautiful, wonderful people, go to Ella Pastoral on patreon.com so you can have early access to my videos as well as participate in polls. Now let's get back to the regularly scheduled content. Okay, so now that we know the origin of the term Gyaru, I really want to do a deep dive, I guess, and talk about the subgenres that come from the term Gyaru, because Gyaru isn't just one fashion style. There is a plethora of fashion styles under the term Gyaru, and I want to overall talk about the different types of Gyaru before I dive deep into the problematic natures of certain Gyaru types and the overall blackness that comes with Gyaru.
So what is a Gyaru? Let's go. Gyaru is a Japanese fashion subculture, and like any other subculture, they have their own slang, makeup, and fashion. At its heart, Gyaru is a rebellion against restrictive beauty standards. Teenage girls wanted to create a space where they could feel empowered and leave men out. It's about rebellion, youth, and personal autonomy. Some ways you can easily identify a Gyaru are heavy makeup, heavily styled or dyed hair, provocative clothing, and sometimes a really overbearing or rude attitude. Some categories of Gyaru include Ko-Gyaru. A staple of Ko-Gyaru style is a high school uniform. They wore it everywhere. Hime-Gyaru. They wear heels and dress like princesses. Ganguro, which is the second birth of Gyaru. They came from poor people trying to adopt the Gyaru style, adopted heavier tanning, Western styles, and crass language. This is just a brief history. I could do a part 2, honestly. If you want to dress like a Gyaru, just do some research.
There are a plethora of different Gyaru types, and I wanted to let y'all know that not all of them involve blackface, because I can already see how the comments are going to be. But let's just go through the subcategories. So we have himajaki, as featured on the screen, and it's a Japanese fashion style that combines elements of elegant, princess-like aesthetics with casual day-to-day clothing. The next one that we have is Eijo, a glamorous and mature style that is characterized by sexy and extravagant clothing, often focusing on pink and girly colors. The next style we have is Roku, which is a style inspired by rock music, typically involving dark clothing, heavy makeup, and bold accessories. The next one that we have is Emajake, which is American casual that incorporates elements of American casual style like denim jeans and flannel styles, as well as sneakers. The next one that we have is Tizumu, which is characterized with teenage girls in Japan, specifically the high schoolers, that is characterized by various school clothing and school uniforms. The next one we have is Kogal, which is characterized by tan skin, dyed hair, miniskirts, and abundance of brand named goods. The next one, which I particularly love, is Himgale, which is princess, which is Hime, and it involves characteristics such as pink and frilly clothes and a lot of accessories. The next one that we have is onagal, which is more mature, sophisticated, and it often includes high-end fashion brands. The next one we have is gangaru, which is expressed by deep tan and contrasting makeup. The next one we have is ora, which is a street fashion style that often involves bright, bold, colorful prints and oversized clothing. And the next two are the ones that I particularly find a problem with, which is mamba and bigaru. Mamba is characterized by heavy dark tanning with white makeup around the eyes and the lips and brightly colored hair, as well as bigaru, which is influenced by hip-hop, urban fashion, and often features baggy clothing and gold jewelry. So now that you guys saw that little section where I practically talk about the multiverse of Garbu subcultures, I really want to focus in on the Mambu and BK subcultures of Garbu specifically in this video, because those are the subcultures that are running rampant with anti-blackness and cultural appropriation. But I really want to talk about why I decided to even make this video. So if you guys have been following my channel for a little bit, you know I made this video right here, my Hello Kitty and blackface video that went semi-viral, and this video I feel like got on the wrong side of YouTube, because when I posted that video I had so many people trying to justify why Japanese people think it's okay to do blackface. But except for those weird people trying to justify blackface, I had so many people requesting that I do a deep dive on Gyaru and its problematic nature. So I called my friend Dami. Hi Dami! And Dami was practically like, you should really do a deep dive into Gyaru, because I really want to know why there are so many dark-skinned girls in anime and what the reason is. So here you go, Dami. This one is specifically for you. And I don't know if it was divine intervention or whatever it was, but while I was getting all of the resources and finding evidence for this video, a situation happened on both TikTok and Twitter that just proved my overall thesis for this video. And it's the fact that when it comes to Japanese people and other East Asian cultures, y'all will be so quick to justify nonsense just because you guys have some weird, I want to say it's fetishization, but you guys will not hold Japanese people and other East Asians accountable. And let me tell y'all what I'm talking about. So the specific situation that I am talking about happened on Twitter, where this Japanese girl went semi-viral because of her bold makeup style, and just by looking at her you can see that she is engaging in the Gyaru subculture of makeup. And there was two different situations that were happening in the quote tweets of the viral video. One camp, I guess, was talking about how they hated her makeup and they were confused why she would do that to herself, practically trying to insinuate that she looked ugly. And then there was a second camp of people who were like, hey, y'all don't find it weird that she is using blackness and black phenotypes and black culture for an aesthetic? And I definitely, now that I'm more educated on this situation, I want to talk about it. So for this section, I'm going to be reading off my scripts, and this is me practically talking about why people find Gyaru girls to be ugly. And like I mentioned before in my what is Gyaru and what was the point of Gyaru makeup was specifically made by Japanese teenage girls as a gigantic FU to societal norms that told them they needed to be pale and dress conservatively in order to be seen as attractive. And so the teenage girl said, yeah, F y'all, I'm going to do what I want with my body, and I'm all for girls doing that. Shout out to the Japanese girls who invented Gyaru. They were doing their big one. But in the comment section of this viral video, so many people were like, yeah, these girls are ugly. Gyaru is meant for you to look ugly. And I don't know who told y'all that, but that's not true. Literally, Gyaru was made as an FU to societal norms, right? Because IDK who told y'all this, but when girls do Gyaru, they're not trying to be ugly. They're not trying to be frog people from the deep, y'all. They literally are just doing alternative fashion style. Like for all of those in America or my Western audience, the best way I can describe Gyaru to y'all is how like the goth edgy kids be dressing. Like when the goth kids be dressing how they be dressing, they don't want to be seen as, I guess, troll people. They want to be looking different from, I guess, your regular schmegular citizen, right? And that's the same thing with Gyaru. Because when the Gyaru girls be dressing how they be dressing, they be thinking they be looking cute and sexy. And they do. And they do. They be eating up their looks 100%. Like for example, right? Like this, if I show this to my traditional African parents, they'd be like, oh, Emma, you look hideous. Why would you do that to yourself? But this, Baby, this look eats down bad. And that's the same thing that's happening with Gyaru. And even though I feel like the majority of society will look at the Gyaru girls and be like, oh my gosh, you look hideous, Gyaru fashion is literally, I don't know how to say this without YouTube striking down my video like how they love to do, but a lot of people have sexualized 18 plusified Gyaru fashion to the point where a lot of these teenage girls who were kicked out of their parents' homes for rebelling and being a Gyaru had to turn to 18 plus activities with older men in order to sustain their livelihoods. Guys, I have to try to censor myself because YouTube has been giving me the bombastic side eye recently, but please use the context clues and put it together.
Was Gyaru a Japanese feminist movement? A lot of Westerners seem to think that Gyaru was a feminist movement in Japan where young women would make themselves look ugly on purpose to repel men, and that Gyaru is supposed to look bad. So I'm here to kind of debunk this and give it a little bit more context. So styles like agajo or hime Gyaru were definitely supposed to be very cute and sexy. A lot of the girls that participated in this style were kyabajos or hostesses and had to look pretty on the job. Gyaru being defiant of mainstream beauty standards does not mean that Gyaru was always supposed to be ugly. Agajo gals were not trying to repel men. The way that they were rebelling was by wearing more revealing clothing and heavier makeup. A lot of gals rebelled by not being ashamed of their sexuality. If you're well read on gal magazines, you probably know that there are a lot of tips for dating and sex in them. Styles like yamamba definitely were kind of purposefully repulsive, but a lot of Yamamba Gyaruos, which are male Gyaru, would join the style just to get closer to the Mamba gals. And a lot of the Yamamba gals liked having them around. So a lot of gals in Japan were not these man-hating radical feminists, though I would argue that the subculture definitely is inadvertently feminist in some ways. The subculture encouraged young women to not be ashamed of their sexuality and to dress and present themselves however they wanted to. But I think that people in the West kind of struggle not projecting Western ideals onto subcultures from Japan. But in summary, it is reductive and false to say that Gyaru was a feminist movement out of Japan that was made to repel men. That idea has also resulted in gals who do softer styles of makeup being attacked because they're not being repulsive enough. Because the subculture itself was never always about being ugly.
But literally, they aren't trying to be ugly. And now that I have gotten that nonsense out of the way, I want to talk about the main reason why y'all clicked on this video, and that's the whole thing with Gyaru blackface and the anti-blackness that the Gyaru community seriously has. I'm just going to be reading you guys like the comments from this user called Felix on Twitter, and how they practically had all of the black people looking at them sideways because they were encouraging a lot of anti-blackness under this video. Hi guys, this is Ella Pastor here, and I am filming on my iPad, so please excuse the audio difference, but I really felt like it was important to make sure that I read this whole tweet thing by Felix, because like I said, they had some good points, but they were just so disingenuous with a lot of their replies. It was supposed to be for feminine empowerment and rebellion against traditional Japanese standards for women, basically a subculture of alternative fashion. The girl with box braids needs to take them out though. Her scalp is crying, I just know it. And then they proceeded to be like, this is a hit tweet, I got ratioed, so now I'm just going to ignore what everybody else is saying. But I really want y'all to clock it in terms of what Felix was saying. Felix then proceeds to say, Gyaru, unfortunately, is the one demographic that strongly takes from black culture and appropriates it, and the one idiots like to use to demonize Gyaru fashion as a whole when there's multiple categories of Gyaru. The more common forms of Gyaru look like this. The tent itself is a stance against colorism in East Asian communities that show more favoritism towards those that are paler, even to the point of almost looking sickly. Some of those tans can get a bit too extreme to the point of blackface, but I need some of you dumbasses to realize most Asians aren't pale. They're tan or even a lighter brown. And so what I found so confusing about all of the stuff that Felix said is that they seem to understand why African Americans are specifically so upset with what is happening in the Gyaru community, but also refuses to acknowledge why they are upset. You understand that Japanese people, specifically the Gyarus, are using braids and they're darkening their skin past what natural Japanese people's skin color is looking like. But when black Americans are like, you know, this is crazily problematic, all of a sudden is African Americans are dumbasses, African Americans are idiots. And let me show you guys some proof of what I'm talking about, because the people under Felix's like whole entire thread were just perpetuating anti-blackness and trying to make it seem like African Americans are dumb when guys, Let me just pull up the evidence. So this user L says, it's sad that a lot of African Americans in this thread rather stay ignorant and claim racism, everyone hates us, rather than step out of our bubble and learn about other cultures and factual history, because a lot of people are lying/misinformed. And then Felix said, because y'all are just being dumb on purpose at this point, coming from the viewpoint of a literal effing mixed Native American Blasian. And then someone just said, shut the fuck up. Because literally, it's like Felix wanted to toe the line so bad, but don't worry, guys. I'm going to show you guys the evidence. But literally, everybody was saying, you don't think it's weird that in order to try to subvert racism, they're trying to be black, like black people? And Felix was like, well, it's only some Gyarus, not all Gyarus, but the fact that people like Felix are trying to justify it by practically being like, well, it's not everybody, literally demonstrates my points with saying how the Gyaru community has an anti-blackness problem. Because instead of making a hardline stop and saying we have a blackface problem and we have people encouraging blackface, we have people like Felix trying to toe the line and trying to be like, well, it's not everybody, but the fact that everyone is keep trying to justify it in order to put off blame is the problem. And so even though I felt like Felix was making a lot of good, valid points, they still festered a lot of anti-blackness in their replies by making it seem that black Americans specifically are so ignorant to other cultures that they just be saying whatever, and that's literally not true. Like, it's not that wild of a concept that the reason why Gyaru was made was for teenage girls to say F you to colorism. Like, the fact that Felix and the people who agreed with Felix were under the thread trying to act like black people can't understand colorism and the historical ramifications of colorism was mind-boggling. Like, it's not that hard of a concept to understand that we as black people know that Gyaru was created to practically be an FU to Japan's societal expectations of light being right and the paler you are, the better you are. Like, it's not that hard of a concept for us to understand that. And I don't know why Felix and I guess the people who agreed with Felix are trying to make it seem like black people could not understand that. Like, for people who are black and are into East Asian subcultures, we know that colorism is a thing. Their hatred towards darker skinned individuals is specifically because in like the feudal times, people with darker skin were field workers. We understand that. We understand that. It's the same thing with slavery. I don't understand how y'all acting like black people are like first graders and can't put those two things together. What we're trying to tell y'all is that Japan's colorism issue has bloomed into racism because your hatred of darker skinned individuals correlates, right? Correlates with the hatred of black people because black people have the darkest skin of all races. So the colorism has led into the racism, but y'all do not want to understand that. Like me, my best friend is Filipino, and so we both definitely understand how racist and how colorist Japanese people are. Like, y'all don't think we don't see how pale Japanese people be treating darker skinned Asians? We see it. We literally see it. Like, if you guys have been following this channel for a long time, y'all should know that I had this channel with my best friend Gabby. That's how we got Ella Pastoral. Her name's Gabriella, my name's Emanuela, right? That's how we got Ella Pastoral. She's a half black, half Filipino girl, and we have literally seen people, pale Japanese people to be specific, call her a jungle Asian. I don't know what more y'all want from me when I say the colorism is leading into the racism. And it isn't just the Filipinos that be catching strays. It be the Cambodians. It be the people from Thailand. It be the people from Indonesia. The colorism leads into the racism. They're cousins. They're cousins. And I just find it extremely offensive and demoralizing that Felix and the people who were agreeing with Felix kept trying to push this narrative that black Americans are so ignorant and so unaware of world politics that we just call everything offensive, when with our own two eyes and our own two ears, we can literally see what the hell is going on. Like, we all understand why Gyaru started, right? It was literally trying to fight against colorism. But if you look at what the girl was doing specifically, because that's what started the whole Twitter thing to begin with, you mean to tell me that's not anti-black when Shawty is literally having her skin tan and wearing box braids? At this point, me and Shawty was starting to look like twins. And what made me so upset is that Felix kept trying to justify their anti-blackness by being like, oh yeah, I'm actually black. But when I look deeper into their accounts, they're half black, half Filipino. So it's obvious. I feel like there's a spirit of fetishization there too, because I'm literally watching the girl, right? Because that's where the whole issue started with. Wear box braids in order to rebel against Japan's society standards. And when you put the fact that Felix said that Gyaru is supposed to be an uglification of yourself with the fact that this girl is wearing box braids, you mean to tell me that's not anti-blackness? If 2 plus 2 is 4, then what the hell is that? Because look, because we understand that Gyaru was made to fight against colorism, and there is darker skinned Asians, right? But when do we draw the line where you go from Japan's standard of paleness to what most dark skin or darker skinned Japanese people look like to my skin complexion? Like, y'all don't see how anti-black that is? Y'all don't see it? Like, we as Black Americans understand that Japan is a homogenous society that has its own issues, but the fact that several Gyarus are using black aesthetics and black culture as a FU to this homogenous society is just breeding anti-blackness. Because why do black people have to get involved, and why are we catching strays in this? So I forgot to include this screenshot when I was talking about people who agree with Felix, but I really feel like it goes into the overall point I was trying to make about how people really think that African Americans are idiots and can't understand colorism, but it's hilarious. So this person said, to rebel against colorism rooted in classism. Goddamn, learn some East Asian history before speaking. I got bullied as a kid because I'm tanner. It had close to nothing to do with anti-blackness and everything to do with tan equaling working class. Stop speaking on things you don't know. And holy shit, you cannot view East Asian history through an American-centric / Western lens. It's not the same. There is plenty of room for discussion in regards to anti-blackness in Asia, but if you cannot understand our histories, how are you going to have a productive convo on racism in East Asia? And I feel like both Felix and this person have a lot of trauma growing up as darker skinned Asians, but I just don't understand how they can't understand how colorism and racism are equal sides of the same coin. Because you really think that if, let's say, a pale Japanese person hates darker skinned Asians because they think they're poor, that all of a sudden when they see a dark skinned black person, they're going to be like, well, you're one of the good darker skinned people. No, if they already dislike dark skinned Asians, then someone who is even darker than your average dark skinned Japanese person is going to get more hate. But I wanted to practically give a platform to all of the African Americans in this thread who were practically giving their viewpoints, because they were getting gaslit like shit in this thread. Like, it was insane work. So this user said, like, it's truly downright effed up how these Japanese girls are darkening their skin and getting braids and ish to rebel, like, against what you are not black and empowering yourself and your natural features. That's not a costume. Then this user said, especially when it's a part of the standard of ugliness by Eastern culture that tan skin is ugly, but Gyaru is about accepting tan skin and rebelling against that standard. That's how I understood it. Then this person said, yeah, like, the idea is great, but execution wise, it's very bad. And then they said that about Japanese people. And then the person, Sab, said, well, I'm not a figure for people to dress up as when they want to rebel against the white beauty standards. And this one is specifically should be changed to Eastern beauty standards, but it's still the emphasis and appreciation of pale white skin. And then this girl said that her issue with it is that a lot of the times it ends up just looking like a racist caricature. And then this person said, yup, that type of Gyaru is explicitly anti-black. There's no way around it. And so I just wanted to include these last three so that you guys can read on your own time. Pause the video if you want. But overall, these are the people that Felix and them were calling idiots for not understanding the purpose of what Gyaru was. And as you can see, these people are extremely educated on why Gyaru was created. But Felix and the people who were really on Felix's side refused to acknowledge the anti-blackness and the use of black aesthetics in order to say F you to Japan's beauty standards and how harmful it it is, because so many people are just trying to be like, yeah, people do Gyaru in order to seem ugly to traditional Japanese societies, but then refuse to acknowledge how harmful it is to adopt black aesthetics to do that. And that's what I wanted to say. And so I just wanted to include that Twitter thread of all of the counterpoints, because I really wanted y'all to see where black girls, black women from America are talking about when we say that the utilization of black aesthetics as a way to make themselves ugly, according to y'all, is so offensive. Because I just don't understand how y'all not getting that. Because y'all are practically saying, of course, these Japanese girls want to have black aesthetics because Japanese people find them ugly. And that is directly anti-black. But y'all are not getting that. And while I'm all for these Japanese girls embracing Gyaru and embracing their natural features and fighting against colorism, there has to be limits. Like the transformation of some Gyaru girls from tanning their skin past their natural skin color and past the natural skin colors of others in their race to be close to my skin color, and mind you, I'm African, is extremely concerning. And I'm all for a little bit of tan, like I'm all for these girls tanning themselves, but I really feel like there is a thin line between embracing a tan and attempting to imitate the skin color of someone outside of your race. Like at this point, right, when I'm talking about these girls who are high-key trying to do blackface, they have moved past the tan of a Kim Kardashian. They've even moved past the tan of Donald Trump. They are so tan that they go from an orangey type shade to straight up brown. Like it's gotten to the point that some of these girls are shade matched with me. Like if they were in America right now and I went to Ulta, we'd be literally fighting over the same skin shade. Like this right here is the foundation that I use to do this makeup look, and it's Juvia's Place I Am Magic Velvety Matte Foundation in the shade Angola, and this would be the shade of some of these girls with how they be doing blackface. Guys, you cannot tell me that this is okay. And maybe, just maybe, I could close my eyes and pretend to be okay with the fact that me and these girls are looking like identical twins in terms of our skin tone. But on top of that, they're adding braids and long acrylics to their outfits. And people are like, no, it's not. It's not like they were trying to be black. No, they be trying to hit me with the impossible. That little meme clip, that's what they're trying to convince me. But God gave me two eyes. I wear glasses outside of doing YouTube videos, but I can still see. Because when you put the dark skin and then you put the braid, who are they trying to look like? Who? Quickly. And it be the bald braids too. Literally like side by side. Twin, where have you been? Type energy. And then people would literally look at me and be like, it's not anti-blackness though. Like, it's not anti-blackness. Then baby, what is it? What is it? And what's even more frustrating than the people who are co-opting black aesthetics in order to fight the man or whatever y'all be trying to tell me is the people who be trying to justify it, knowing damn well how offensive cultural appropriation and blackface are. The Weeaboo warriors, the blackface warriors that were in the comment section in my Sanrio video literally had me losing faith in humanity so bad. Like for the Hello Kitty situation, it was blackface. And they were pulling out every excuse under God's holy green planet to try to justify why it's okay for Japanese people to do blackface. Like, cut the shenanigans. And I really just want to remind y'all that this is the year 2024. Japan is not the post-World War I isolationist country that it was in the past. Japan and Japanese people are connected to America, to the internet, just like us. And y'all seriously need to stop trying to make it seem like Japanese people are living in some backwater with no internet access and they don't know the things that they are doing are problematic. It's people like y'all who continually tell Japanese people like, no, it's not offensive. No, it's okay to keep doing that. That lets them think it's okay because y'all are directly encouraging it. And I'm all for Gyaru girls tanning their skins a little bit in order to embrace their natural beauty. Like, for example, in Ghana and West Africa, skin bleaching is still a major issue, right? So I'm all for people reclaiming their God-given skin color, But when it goes past that, how is it a rebellion at this point? Because if it was supposed to be a counter movement to tell girls to embrace their natural beauty, how is being my skin shade doing that? And I just wanted to insert a clip by cybr.girl where she practically interviewed a lot of known Garus in the Garu community and asked them their opinions of blackface and its correlation to Garu.
Is Gyaru blackfishing and or cultural appropriation? And what you both feel about that?
I would say that the style itself is not blackfishing or Asian fishing or cultural appropriation or anything. Definitely, there can be people who can, fall in those things, or maybe sub-styles that can be problematic. But the style itself is not related to that. The style itself is about going against the Japanese standards for women on looks and behavior. So since they have really, really clear concept of how a woman should be, then they were against that, and then when it was evolving, there were like certain things or certain looks that could be problematic.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also think like the rebellion part, especially like the darker styles that like require like a tan, and we're kind of rebelling against the harmful beauty standards like for women in Japan. If you're like a white person who wants to try out Gyaru, I think you have to keep in mind that like you cannot rebel against those kind of beauty standards because like you're white and you are not affected like by colorism. So you have to keep that in mind. And also like within the Japanese culture, tanning can be problematic. It can be also like blackfishing as well. If we look at styles like BK, for example, now their styles like are kind of like outdated, but we still have to keep that in mind. And we have like within the Japanese culture, there are also like dark-skinned Japanese people and black people. So you really have to think about that too.
And even though I really wish cybr.girl would have done her due diligence and actually talked to some actual black people or people with darker skin that blackface affected, I do have to say that I enjoyed listening to the interview and the commentary of the girls. But I feel like it's extremely dismissive to not look at what is happening in the Garu community. Like, yes, you can do Garu and not do blackface. That is a thing that is extremely true. Like I told y'all, I love me a good Garu makeup style. Y'all be eating it down. It's just that there are a bunch of people in the Garu community who are anti-black. And if it isn't the people who are doing whatever the hell this is, it's the people who also attack darker skinned individuals for doing Garu. And I'll definitely talk about that in a later section, but there is an anti-blackness issue in the Garu community, even if it isn't palatable to talk about.
I think like there are not a lot of Gyarus like anymore. This is like really like an old style. I think there's still like this hip-hop culture in Japan, but I think this is like a different story. It's not like the Gyaru style itself, because that was just like really like blackfishing because they had like braids or locks and would like or like try to achieve to look like a black person, but it's not like worn anymore.
Like, even though I did appreciate these girls for talking about blackface and how it correlates with Garu, I feel like they are being extremely disingenuous to try to make it seem like Bikai and Mamba is just a thing of the past and no one does it. Like I showed you guys in the beginning of this video, there is literally a popular TikTok influencer or Twitter influencer who is still doing the Bikai style to this day, and she is garnering a bunch of views. And there are people in her comment section like, oh my gosh, I love your braids, I want to do them too, oh my gosh, I want to look just like you. And because of the fact that people who are prominent in the Garu community are not putting a heavy enough hammer trying to get people to know that that style of Garu is problematic, it's still being popularized. I mean, guys, the fact that anti-blackness is literally so rampant in the Garu community that there are two separate subgenres under the term Garu literally just proves my point, even though these two girls are trying to make it seem like it's a thing of the past. And I'm just going to show you guys what I'm talking about with a good old friendly TikTok. And I just want to say thank you God so much that as of me filming this right now in April 2024 that we have TikTok, because due to TikTok I am able to give you guys real proof with timestamps and receipts to let y'all know that Bikai and Mamba didn't disappear off somewhere with the dinosaurs, but that it still exists in 2024. Because I refuse to be gaslit in my own comment section. Y'all got me messed up because I can already foresee the nonsense that's happening right now as y'all are watching this. But before y'all come for me and you're like, oh Emma, you're just hating. Me, I love Garu. I follow so many Garu people on TikTok, on Instagram, low-key on Tumblr too. Your girl loves Gyaru, and I overall just love alternative fashion styles. But when these fashion styles cross over into cultural appropriation, that's when I have to give y'all the side eye.
We're back to talk about Gyaru Part 2. We're gonna touch on some dark topics today, so just buckle in. Let's just address the elephant in the room, which is, are Gyaru racist? Blackface has existed all over the globe, not just in Japan, for many years. In many ways, Japan still considers itself in isolation, even though it is a global superpower, creating an environment where a literal caricature of black people was allowed. With the current conversations we've been having about blackfacing, this is not okay. As you can see, her face does not match her skin tone, which is blackface. Considering the way that Gyaru were created as a form of rebellion against restrictive beauty standards, I think that they were not malicious in the beginning. However, I do think the trend went too far, and it went too far very quickly. What does it say about Japan that they think dark skin is unattractive? In conclusion, fashion is a global commodity. Tan, but don't over tan. Please listen to Japanese creators because they know more about the relationship between Gyaru and blackfacing in Japan.
And like I said, I love Gyaru. And so do a lot of black girls. And y'all are going to be big pissed when I say this, because I know how y'all get whenever I mention the things that black Americans have done for the culture. But the reason why black girls love Gyaru so much is that Gyaru has a lot of inspiration from black women. And I made sure that I came with the receipts, y'all.
Okay, it's time to do Get Education with Japanese sources and only Japanese sources. This source is called asianbeat.com. And this graphs the history of Gyaru. It clearly states that in the 1990s, Amuro Namie debuted and she became the first charisma of the Gyaru industry. She was basically the start of Gyaru fashion. She was the one who pioneered Gyaru fashion. This is Amuro Namie. Her fashion sense was so popular that people who dressed like her was named after her. Amu from Amuro Namie. And that is just what we put on at the end of the thing as like, you know, the person who copied it's hard to explain. I'm going to be using this interview about Amuro Namie and her story. And this is from area.com. It says that 当時は黒人女性がかっこいい時代でした。Meaning, around that time, black women was viewed as beautiful and cool in that time period. 日本でもナオミ・キャンベルが大ブレイクし Meaning, even in Japan, Naomi Campbell was a big inspiration. 音楽業界ではジャネット・ジャクソンが人気でした。And in the music industry, Janet Jackson was very popular, especially in the 80s. 彼女はジャネット・ジャクソンに影響を受け、歌とダンスを始めたぐらいジャネット・ジャクソンが大好きだったし、彼女自身もこういうメイクが似合ったんです。This was the part of the interview where they talked to the makeup artist and the hair artist. They were talking about how Amuro Namie liked Janet Jackson so much that she started her music and dance because of her influence. She said that she liked her so much that she asked to do makeup similar to Janet Jackson. There's also other articles about how much Amuro Namie liked TLC and deep diving on TLC's history. They even collaborated with TLC herself. And if you look at any other Gyaru magazines, R&B styles, hip-hop style was in fact very popular. The common misconception of inspired by Californian girls come from the Yamamba generation. Yamamba started in the 1998. And around the 2000s, tropical fashion by the Gyarus was very popular. Now, those tropical fashion consisted of a lot of surfer type of fashion. And those surfer types were often in California. But the start of Gyaru, Kogyarus and Amura in the 1990s was not popularized or inspired by Californian girls. They were inspired by Amuro Namie and other black artists that inspired Amuro Namie.
And what I find extremely frustrating about this situation is that when it comes to black Americans' contributions to culture, People like to act as if Black Americans don't contribute anything and that they are the most useless group of people. And this is coming from someone who's a Ghanaian American. Like, I wouldn't be considered an African American because my family literally comes from Ghana, West Africa. And the reason why people refuse to acknowledge Black Americans' contribution to cultures across the globe is because of the close association of Black American culture with American culture. Because literally, you just heard from the source itself. I had to make sure that it was an actual Japanese source because y'all refused to listen to Black people. But Black Americans are so influential, be it music, be it culture, be it in the fashion. Like, Black people have been doing their thing. And that's why I just find it so frustrating that Felix and the people who agreed with Felix was like, you guys need to know and you guys need to learn about other people's cultures before you call out its problematic aspects. And what gets me is that whole time Gyaru is inspired by who? Black Americans. That's what's killing me. Because when I did that whole Hello Kitty and blackface thing, people were trying to make it seem like Japanese people didn't know what blackface was. They knew what blackface was enough to take it and make the blackface Hello Kitties. I still can't get over that. So whenever y'all try to make it seem that, oh, we Westerners and we Americans need to leave these innocent Japanese people alone because that's their culture, whole time it's American culture that somehow ended up in Japan. Like, what am I missing? Like, I feel like there's something big that I'm missing. There's something big that I'm missing that y'all need to help me lock into. Now, this leads me into one of my last sections, and that is the infantilization of East Asians. And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to be talking about Japanese people and Korean people. Because as someone who holds everybody accountable on this channel, I've seen the way y'all be treating Japanese and Korean people like they are God's chosen. And today I'm telling y'all to stop. According to the article Infantilization in Your Relationships by Brittany Loggins, infantilization is when an adult is treated like a child even though nothing about their mental, physical, social, or intellectual well-being requires such treatment. And that is going to be the word for today, infantilization. Infantilization is what y'all have been doing to these East Asians, and I need y'all to stop. These people are adults. Let me say this again. These people are adults. And like I continue to say, and I will continue to preach, if these same people can get on TikTok, and we're on TikTok, if these same people can get on Twitter, and we're on Twitter, they can go to, like, I don't know if it's Navar or whatever Google search engine they got, but they can do the research too. They can do the research too. If they can find out about these subjects, how to do braids. Because these are some good braids. These are not some sloppy beginner braids. These are some high quality braids that they are wearing. If they can learn the stitch technique. Me, I don't even know how to do braids and I'm Black. If they can learn the technique in Japan and in Korea, the Koreans are catching strays in this video. If they can learn the technique, then they can also learn the history and why it's offensive to do these things. But in order to help them do this research and help them to do better, we can't keep telling them, yeah, it's okay to just do braids, darken your skin, wear acrylics, and then imitate Black people. Because that's how we get a continuation of this cycle. Because people, specifically the Korea boos and the weeboos, you know who you are telling them, yeah, like, of course, baby, you didn't know better. Like, you're from Japan. Mind you, Japan, China, I'm sorry, the Chinese people are also catching strays. Japan, China, and Korea are our technological rivals. You know how there's iPhones? Who is the biggest competitor against the iPhone right here? Samsung. You know where that comes from? Korea. And Japan is nothing to be laughed at either in terms of being our technological rival. So when y'all be trying to make Japanese people seem like they're not literally our rivals in technology, and you're trying to make it seem that they can't access the internet, may the power of Christ compel you. May the power of Christ compel you. One day you will be freed from the mental trapping that is that nonsense. Japanese people are intellectuals just like us, and you need to treat them as such. And I just feel like it's so sad to see, because y'all's refusal to hold these people accountable is perpetuating nonsense. And this goes both ways. For Japanese people indulging in American culture and American people indulging in Japanese culture. Y'all know how many people go watch the anime Demon Slayer and all of a sudden they pull up with the Rising Sun logo? Imagine instead of us being like, you know, that's like high-key a hate symbol, right? And you should not wear that. We're like, well, you're American. How would you know that's offensive? Oh, you don't have Google. How are you supposed to know? Instead of telling these people like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be wearing a rising sun. Do something else. But hey, I want to now go on to some positivity, because I don't want y'all to think that I'm an extreme Gyaru hater, because I do love Gyaru from time to time. I do indulge. This creator, I follow them on TikTok, and they've been doing their big one in terms of Gyaru fashion. People are pissed because they take the Gyaru makeup trend and they make it like big, bold, and beautiful, but I've been loving it. I love how they do like the colorful teeth thing too. Innovation. I also follow this black girl here. I've been loving her content. She's just naturally dark, so she doesn't have to do what the Gyarus have been doing. She just comes in a default shade they want to be. But she has also been getting a lot of racism in her comments, telling her that she's too dark to do Gyaru, you're ugly, you're black. Like I said, it isn't just the people who are doing blackface that are the issue. It's the people who just hate black people. I don't know what to tell y'all. So in conclusion, COVID really went and showed us what is going on in terms of globalization. We are more interconnected than ever. And if we are going to continue to share culture, we all need to be culturally sensitive. Y'all won't see me pop out with a rising sun outfit or do rising sun inspired makeup. So I'm begging y'all, stop doing blackface, stop wearing braids, and let us share cultures, but let us be respectful at the end of the day, because we're stepping into spaces that aren't ours and we need to be respectful. If you guys like this video, make sure that you hit the thumbs up button. I'm really scared to see the comment section in this video, y'all. So please behave. Please behave. Comment this lollipop emoji if you got to this point of the video. I want to see who are real ones and who are actually watching the videos to the end. And make sure that you subscribe, because I have a lot of fandom deep dives coming out soonish. I'm still in nursing school, and y'all know how nursing school is. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.